Hello everybody, hope you're having a nice day today. And this would, I already cracked 10. So this is lesson number 10 in our delve into the wonderful world of music theory. Amazing, isn't it? We've already reached 10 lessons. Very proud of us. Anyways, today we're going to be covering the bass clef. So, if this word is leaving you dumbfounded, I encourage you to go watch my video on clefs where I discuss what they are, how they work, etc. etc. And within that video itself, I talked about the bass clef. And what we discussed in the video, that a clef tells you exactly, it's a symbol which you put at the beginning of a staff, and it tells you exactly which line in space in a staff corresponds to which pitch or which key on the piano. You can think of it like that. So just for reference, a bass clef looks something like this. And we discussed that one way we solve the problem of space, because we only have 5 lines but we want to represent multiple pitches, is by roughly dividing the piano into halves. And the higher half is usually addressed by the treble clef, which we talked about in detail, and the lower half is usually addressed by the bass clef. What I mean by that is, when we use the bass clef, the lines and spaces which are there in the staff are relatively low notes. The bass clef makes them relatively low notes, whereas when I use the treble clef, those notes are relatively those lines and spaces are relatively low pitches, and when I use the treble clef, those lines and spaces are relatively high pitches. Now, if you don't properly understand this, I do encourage you to go watch that video because I cover that in detail there. This was just recap. One more thing I encourage you to do. If you haven't seen my treble clef video, or you don't know anything about the treble clef and the staff in general, I do encourage you to go watch those videos, because I'll be sort of glossing over those things here. I'll be going quite fast with them because I assume you already know them by now. Anyways, that being said, let me just get a staff ready here while I talk. So, we use the bass clef mainly when we want to write for instruments that play in a lower register comparatively. So stuff like the cello, the bassoon, tuba, all you would write for with the bass clef. And just like the treble clef, the bass clef has its own system for what exactly the lines and spaces happen to be. And hopefully the staff is coherent enough. Uh, if you're not summarized by now, I'm not very good at drawing. Anyways, so as I said, the bass clef looks a little something like this. And we'll get into exactly how to draw it at the end of this lesson, hopefully. But till then, just remember, this is what the bass clef roughly looks like. And once again, this is going to be a relatively content-based lesson. I'm just going to run through exactly what pitches in the case of the bass clef. Let me stress that, because now we've already learned the treble clef. What pitches correspond to which lines and spaces. Now, as with the treble clef, couple of rules. I already discussed these. Number one, all pitches are in order. That means that well, let me just write that down first. So all pitches are in order. Are in order. We've already discussed this in the treble clef video. That means that if this is E, let's just say it's not, but let's just say if this was theoretically E, the next one would be F, and the next one would be G, and the next one would be A. It would not be E, then it would not be E, G, F, B, B, C, F, whatever. Keep on going. It's not random. It is in a consecutive order. You move across the pitches. So it's always A, B, C, D, E, F, G. As you move across line to space to line to space to line to space. Rule number one. Rule number two, by default, we only talk about natural pitches. So each line and space only refers to a natural pitch, not sharps and flats. Those aren't addressed by lines and spaces. And in fact, we've already covered how to write sharps and flats. So if you're curious about that, you can watch that video. Regardless, from now I'm just writing natural pitch only. And again, these two rules were already discussed in our previous video. That being said, let's just jump into it. So in the case of the bass clef, the this bottom line refers to G. The first space, the bottom space, refers to A. The second line refers to B, the second space refers to C, the middle line or the third line refers to D, the fourth space, the third space, my bad, the third space refers to E, the fourth line or the second last line refers to F, the last space or the fourth space refers to G, and the final line, or you can say the last line, running out of space here, so I'll just write it down here, refers to A. And that's it, we're done. Now once again I encourage you to take maybe a screenshot of this or write it down somewhere, because that's really all there is to it. This is the maybe the naming scheme. This is how the pitches are divided. So in the bass clef, the bottom line means this. Now let me reiterate, this is only for the bass clef. So if you're wondering why I gave a different system for my treble clef video, when you see a treble clef at the beginning of a staff, we've already covered this, but I'll just restate it. When you see a treble clef at the beginning of staff, in case you're wondering what that looks like, it looks something like this. When you see it, it's very bad, but hopefully you get the idea. When you see a treble clef at the beginning of a staff, these lines and spaces mean different things. When you see a bass clef at the beginning of staff, they mean different things. So the treble clef system of dividing these pitches is distinctly different from the bass clef system. You should probably remember that. So when we have a bass clef, these lines and spaces are different pitches, correspond to different pitches than when we have the treble clef. It's very important that you understand that, remember that, because if you don't, this can be very confusing. Okay, now as I did in my treble clef video, I'm going to give you some handy ways to remember these. Now the first of which is acronyms. Acronyms. Once again, I already talked about this. I was never much of a fan of acronyms when I was a kid and learning music for the first time. I'd never found them very useful, but nearly all the music books use acronyms when they're first teaching this concept. Music textbooks, I mean by that, and I'm sure there must be many acronym type people to whom using an acronym must be very useful. So I'll provide them nonetheless. So for the lines, for all the lines in the staff, for all the lines, the acronym is good boys do well. Oh, sorry. Fine, sorry. My bad. Good boys do fine always. Haven't used these in a while. In fact, you know what? Let me rewrite that. So I will just make the letters slightly bigger, just to give the idea. So, good boys do fine always. And the way this acronym works is it's the first letter of each word corresponds to that particular line. So the first line is G, second line is B, third line is D, fourth line is F, and final line is A. You can double check this with the diagram I've got up there. So good boys do fine always. This is very easily confused with the treble clef lines acronym, which is every good boy does fine. But try not to confuse them. This is the acronym for the bass clef. Good boys do fine always, for the lines. For the spaces, we have a different acronym, and that is all cows eat grass. Easy to remember, same system. First letter of each word corresponds to the respective space. So first space is A, second space is C, third space is E, final space is G. So A, C, E, G. So those are the two acronyms that are usually taught. For lines, it's good boys do fine always, G, B, D, F, A. And for spaces, it's all cows eat grass, A, C, E, G. First letter of each word. Okay, that being said, here's the method that I used to use for the bass clef. This is the method that I used to use for the bass clef. It's very similar to treble clef. This is the method that I used to sort of memorize these. Just all you have to remember is that the bottom line in the bass clef, the bottom line is G. And with that single piece of information, you can reverse engineer every single position, possible position a note could have, all the lines and spaces. For example, if you had a note placed here, So you know the bottom line is G, and again first rule, all pitches are in order. So G, then the space after that would be A, and the line after that would be B, and then the space after that would be C. So I know it is immediately C. Similarly, if I had something placed here, for example, it's on the line in case there's any confusion. Once again, G, then the space above that is A, then the line above that is B, then the space above that is C, the line above that is D, then the space above that is E, and the line above that is, okay, F. So if acronyms work for you, that's great. If that doesn't work for you, this whole method of just looking at the bottom line and reverse engineering everything was something that I found, which is what I used to use and what I found profoundly useful. And once again, if you play an instrument which uses the bass clef, then you will gain the ability, if you learn it properly with sheet music, you will gain the ability to play it, to sight read music. That means you can look at music, and you can immediately catch on what that music means. You can immediately look at this note and say, oh, this is F, oh, that's C. You look at it and you understand. I have only played treble clef instruments so far. Um, Largely, my main instruments have been treble clef instruments, so I can't sight read bass clef. But because I play quite a bit of piano, I've gotten like pseudo sight reading level. But anyways, if you are learning instrument bass clef, I strongly urge you to learn the ability to sight read. And the way to do that is always practice with sheet music. Always keep sheet music with you when you're practicing, and try to use only that. And in the beginning it's going to be really hard, but then as you build up momentum, you're going to be able to make that association, build that association very strongly and very quickly, and you'll be able to sight read. And that's an invaluable skill in both practical music and in theoretical music. With that being said, I've linked a worksheet after this video. It's pretty much the exact same as the treble clef worksheet. You'll find a bunch of notes placed on a bunch of positions, and you have to tell me what pitch it is. Is this note F? Is this note G? Is this note? So you'll see, maybe imagine a note is placed here, and then there'll be a blank above it, and you have to add exactly, oh, let's say it was A, whatever pitch it happens to be. And once again, I really do encourage you to go do that, because it will help you get comfortable with the idea of identifying pitches under the bass clef. Then we get comfortable with that idea about how that works. And again, I say this all the time, it's my motto: whether it is practical music or theoretical music, the key is practice. The way to get better is practice. The way to become more proficient is practice. So please do practice. I have left that worksheet, and I really do encourage that you do that worksheet, because that's what's going to help you the most. Anyways, with that being said, that's what I really have to say about the bass clef. It is an alternative to the treble clef, and the ensuing lessons that follow this, we're going to be understanding that, okay, while this is like, G and that's F, sure, which key on the piano do I actually play? And hey, well, if that is G and this is G, how do I differentiate between them? This might seem a bit confusing right now, but we'll bring it all into context in the lessons that ensue, where I talk about the gram stuff and everything that goes along with that. But for now, all I wanted to keep in mind is this, and that's all that is for this lesson. Hope you've learned something, you've taken something away from this lesson, and I wish you a wonderful day forward, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.